Welcome back, Dangerlings, to Danger Recall. I am your host, Colin Hubbard, from the Danger Club podcast. With me today are my guests, Dan Thompson.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, look at that! Just trying to dip into the hello, everyone's. How you doing today,
Classic.
Dan?
I'm doing great. I'm really enjoying these. We're getting back into these ones, and these are some really fun episodes. We're getting to our first really serious combat and getting some real bit of good plot stuff. I'm excited to talk about these eps.
Everyone's getting to know each other as well in the podcast. And James Locker, how you doing, James?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, a little bit sunnier now. The sun is shining and the birds are singing, and well, I'm ready to deep dive on some episodes.
Yeah, nice. All right, so today we are going to cover two episodes. We're going to cover episode 5 and episode 6 of the Danger Club podcast. So thank you for joining us. Episode 5, Nobody's Vault But Mine. A pun made in the last episode, maybe made the inspired. Is that right, Dan?
I think there's a good chance. Also, I will take any chance to reference that song because it is Nobody's Fault But Mine is the best Led Zeppelin song. Fight me.
Oh, right. Which album is that
to Heaven.
from?
I don't know.
Nobody's Vault But Mine. It's episode 5. It's released on the 2nd of July 2018 with music from Kevin MacLeod, Swordcoast Soundscapes and Ross Budgeon. It was mentioned very early on. I said that I've never played a level... Actually, I don't know if it was mentioned, but I've actually never played a level 1 character. I slipped in when we played Pathfinder Elsewhere. I took on a character which was level 9. That's where I started off. So it's a bit weird to start off on a level 1 character. I'd never done it before. So yeah, for me, this is a new thing. Any thoughts on this episode before we go any further?
I can tell you that Nobody's Fault But Mine is from the album Presence from 1976.
Thank you. They've got more albums than they think, Led Zeppelin.
They've got a lot of albums.
They've got a lot of albums. They definitely tail off. Presence is not one of my faves. I thought it might have been Physical Graffiti, but no, Presence.
Fair enough. Now, who's doing a review? It's not a review, a summary of episode 5.
I can do a summary if you want.
Thank you, James. Yeah. James is going to do a summary.
I'll sit back and eat me sandwich.
Right.
Little summary.
Here we go.
So it ended with obviously MZ getting stabbed by the Skulk in the vault. We didn't know. I think we didn't know it's a Skulk. The team subdue said Skulk, but they don't kill him. They don't kill him. They take him prisoner so they can interrogate him later with some questions, and then go back upstairs in the shop because they're still in the locked box. Then they discover a strange pit trap thing to stop people from leaving the shop, which then gets set off. And upon doing so, I think Shania ends up on one side and the other team ends up on the other. And then this is the episode that really... He's been building up to it, but I think this is prime Fulton, this episode, because this is when Fulton decides that he's going to jump the 10-foot gap and literally belly flops with a -1, I believe he gets, belly flops into the hole and leading to quite a lot of damage. Because remember, we're level 1 characters. I think he does 6 points of damage, which is hilarious. Upon standing up, we then discover another Skulk in the corner of the pit, who then questions, no, I believe Shania's in the pit. And she starts questioning the Skulk, because then before that, apologies, we're going to backtrack slightly, because then Fulton decides we don't need the other Skulk and kills him. Splatters his head merrily with that, then does his pit dive, and then we have one of the most surprising NPC decisions, certainly thus far, when distracted, the Skulk goes for Fulton, which is quite an extraordinary... I remember being surprised as a player and surprised everything else, leading to a dark pit fight in the darkness, which ends very badly for the Skulk. He gets knocked on the head. Again, Fulton rolling unusually high numbers. Then he decides to simulate a 69 with the unbeknownst corpse of that Skulk. And when the pit opens, Velda casts a Tanglefoot back on him, which sticks him into this compromising position. And then that's pretty much where we left off on the episode, which is this is all about Fulton. This one
summary, love it. Nice. Yeah, it's a very Fulton episode, isn't it? We're still in my living room, not kitchen, Dan. We're still in my living room, recording with a few mics. I think we got 3. But the sound, I like the sound on this one. The sneak attack there's a song here where it's a parody song. I believe it is Scott again, and he says "Sneak Attack's gonna get ya" to the rhythm, to the tune of "The Rhythm is gonna get ya," which I believe is a song by Gloria Estefan. Am I correct in saying that? Rhythm is gonna get ya.
Nice.
Rhythm is gonna get ya.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah, 6:40. We have our first roll for. Well, it's not our first roll; it's our second roll for Initiative. The first was with the Dragon, and this is our against the Skulks. So 9 minutes. Can everyone just stop getting stabbed?
Nice.
This is a reference to a quote from a film called Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, if you've never seen that film, which is by Guy Ritchie. It was one of his first films. In fact, I think his first film, I believe.
Great movie.
And yeah, it's a really fun movie. Lots of people get...
I think my issue with Lock, Stock is that... My issue with... Sorry, Cole, I talked right over you.
No, go for it.
My issue with Lock, Stock is that it's effectively the same movie as Snatch, except Snatch has got slightly more famous people in it and is like it's just a little bit better. So they're kind of like, if you only really need to watch one of them. Although the soundtrack for Lock, Stock is beautiful.
I mean, he needed to make Lock, Stock first with Unknowns, didn't he? Really, then but Vinnie Jones is very good in this film as well. Like Vinnie Jones. Vinnie Jones very good as an actor.
I remember Jason Statham, pre-action movie, pre-Fast and the Furious Transporter, great big action movie star Jason Statham.
He's good in this movie.
He's great. He's a great actor.
Yeah, he's good. He plays like a little hard man, but not too hard. So it's it's kind of cool. It's also, they used that "Can everyone stop getting shot?" This quote, they used it in a UK garage tune. If you don't know what UK garage is, it was a very great movement back in the late 90s, early noughties, and it has still kind of survived. It's still out there. You can still go to garage nights. So I absolutely adore UK garage myself, and they used it on a tune. Oxide Neutrino used it on a tune, and it goes, "Can everyone stop getting shot?" Oh, I don't know if it was Oxide Neutrino. I might be doubting myself there. Oh, I think I've got my garage wrong. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'll look that up. So sorry, Oxide Neutrino. Sorry, garage fans. I'm sorry I got that wrong.
Tweet us, garage.
But yeah, it's a good tune. Go and find it. I can't remember what it's called. 10:20. No one knows what it's like.
Nice.
We do that, which is a song by
The Who.
Limp Bizkit.
Thank you.
Limp Bizkit.
I was going to say Limp Bizkit did a cover of that song. No one knows what it's like. Yeah, I think we sing that again later on. 12 minutes in, M rages for the first time.
Yeah, you said at the time, we're like, what does your rage sound like? And you said you'd work on it. So with the benefit of 2.5 years, what does M's rage sound like?
Hey, that comes up in a later episode. Right? So we're going to do it right here, right now.
There is another first in here, which I have to hold my hands up to because the Discord links will like this. Okay. At this point in it, it is the first time that I massively dropped the ball on the rules for Pathfinder. It's something I noticed in these early episodes is how good we are at the rules. I was like, wow, I really knew the rules for first edition Pathfinder because it took so long to learn second edition and we're still making mistakes with it. Whereas first edition, I was generally pretty good on. But I will tell you that drawing a weapon does not provoke attack of opportunity. M could have easily pulled his sword out and fought that guy off. That is completely that is the first of many little rules errors for it, which fortunately we're not the kind of show that really, agonize though. Although I always text Ross like after an episode where I know I've got something wrong. I'm just like, I'm really angry. I got that wrong. And Ross is like, doesn't matter. But
now we've got a real deep dive here at 12 minutes 40.
Ooh.
We mention a thing about Twilight, and I say something like, "Oh, big up the Twilight fans if you're reading." Like, we're not having a go at Twilight. And then Scott goes into a rant about Twilight, but he does this rant in the style of a character that he's playing in another game at the time with us. So we're playing like a social game as well as the Danger Club podcast, and the character that he's playing in that game is Brimbone. So, may I ask you, Danger Club, the two members that I have here, is this the first time that we hear Brimbone on the Danger Club podcast?
Certainly sounds like him, doesn't it? It's certainly that voice. Although Brimbone, like at this stage, I think he added a lot more layers to him. There's a lot of Rick and Morty in that kind of impression as well.
So.
I think there's definitely that thread running through it. But
so with this in mind, should I cut this bit out?
No, I don't think so at all. I think it's an interesting point to make because inevitably, we are shaped by the cultural factors that are going on around us. And like all of the Dangerlings listening now, there are the memes, there are the popular TV programs, there's the stuff going around. We've mentioned Game of Thrones and stuff like this. And I think this is really interesting. So from my sort of perspective, I like it, is referencing some of the stuff that was going through our minds. And Rick and Morty was massive, but also it did feed into, that probably fed into the original Brimbone characterization he did for our private game, and then so on and so on and so forth. Because, we mimic and we also adapt and we take things from some places and then we come up with some original stuff ourselves and it all mashes together to become humans. So, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, we've all played characters in social games and we brought them to the game. I mean, Bubba was played in a different game beforehand. So I think it's okay to mention that anyway. I'll ask Scott off air and see if he's okay with the fact that Brimbone was made before. But anyway, let's carry on. At 2350, we have a Swear to Me, which is a reference to Batman, I believe. We do that in a Batman voice. Swear to me. Around Christian Bale's Batman.
Yes.
Not anyone else's Batman. Around 27, Velda says, why don't we give the healing potion to the Skulk instead of M? James, what was that decision about, mate? M's got 2 points left of... Right, he's come out of a rage. He's got 2 points left. He's got one healing potion. You're like, why don't we give it to the Skulk? Explain yourself.
Just because I thought the Skulk was going to die and we needed information, I think was the only driving force behind that. And of course, remember that, I thought you'd be all right.
Sure, yeah.
That sort of, I think it's that early level one kind of like overconfidence and also just forgetting how close to death you really were through like a couple of hits, really. It was funny. Dead.
It was funny how all the other characters turned on you. They were like, whoa.
At least we didn't waste one on something that was dead. Who'd do that?
I mean, especially...
Who would do that, huh?
I mean, you had the help of the greatest healing spell of all time, Virtue. Thanks to Drummond's. When I was like, Drum, you're the healer. You should take some healing spells. But didn't check his spell list. And he took Virtue.
There you go. His one temporary hit point for like 2 seconds. Enjoy.
So 29, we have the trapdoor, which we've talked about. We have the second kill. Fulton kills the Skulk because we've got another Skulk downstairs. 36.45, we have the first mention of Kemoth and Unami, which I think is very important because we go looking for them later and we really forget their names, even
so
though
many times.
How many times Dan mentions it. It's amazing.
Hearing them again both made me chuckle, and it also sent a shiver down my spine because we were searching for for games. It just felt like forever we were searching for Keelan and Umami.
Funny you mentioned Shiver because Shiver is the drug that that's being dealt. 3650, Shania says, let's go find Kemoth and Unami. She says Kemoth and Unami. So that's the first time we say that. We're going to follow that lead. Okay, so that's good. The questions to the Skulk is hilarious. Sorry, do you want to say, Dan?
I have something for you, Colin.
What is it?
Whichever know this. I have put together something which I intend to keep up to date as we go back through these episodes, because if I'm not on the episodes, I'm going to re-listen along with them. I would like to introduce the Danger Club Murder Tracker, which I put in to keep track of all the deaths that have occurred on the Danger Club podcast, so we can keep track of them. So I did it after we listened to this one, and I can tell you that currently, sitting on the Danger Club Murder Tracker, we can check back in it. At one point is M, obviously. Episode 2 kills the dragon. But then screaming in on episode 5, Fulton gets in his 2 kills. So I can, and because I love a spreadsheet, I can tell you that currently Fulton has 67% of the murders on the Danger Club podcast. It ends 33%. Everyone else currently have clean sheets at this, but I intend to keep this up to date as we go through this, and I can tell you it's going to get rapidly very out of control once things kick off.
I mean, just to clarify this, I mean, because obviously some deaths are not murder. The basilisk, we didn't know it was going to cause a threat. the stuff in the skulks were definitely, that was murder, especially when he just mashes the head off, and then the other one maybe self-defense in the pit, and he does try and use
kill list then, as
just
opposed to a murder list.
Can anything that Fulton does really be described as premeditated? I suppose there's that argument as well.
Yeah.
But I will track this as we go on. We can check in and see who's winning on kills as we go through this.
That's great, Dan. Maybe we'll come up with a sting for that. Dangerlings. If anyone wants to make one for us, the kill list, send it in. We'll use them all. All right. The questions to the skulks are hilarious. When we're just firing off,
so funny.
Like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite season? Things like that. And then
the answer to the season one was genius. That was very fast thinking of Dan. It's like, I like the thing that is really pretty. It was so quick. That was a very good scene. I like that.
It was very funny. That was great. Yeah,
there's definitely some stuff I would do differently about some of those scenes. I think for a start, there's with the stuff with the skulks, it's an example of something you do at low levels that we wouldn't have done later on. Like now we would have at this point now we would just hand wave, be like, okay, you've knocked him out, you slap him around the face, he wakes up. Whereas like going through all the rigmarole of like, well, no, he's technically at -5 hit points, so you need to do something, it's real sticking to the rules that we just wouldn't do now. And we were doing at the start because it was quite fun to play that out in that scene, but it's something we'd never do at the moment. And I've said before, I'm not 100% happy with the voices of the skulks. And it went on because I came up with that out of nowhere.
I think later your voices of the skulks are really good, but at this point, they're a bit different than I remembered them actually.
It's because it sounds, the thing I can equate to it most is it sounds a little bit like Robin Williams' market seller at the start of Aladdin, which I think is a slightly problematic accent. Robin Williams, one of the greatest of all time, but I was kind of like, they live in the bins and they're like, they've got like kind of, I'm not totally happy with the accent that's been given to them. But it's fine because they ended up dead really quickly, so they didn't have to come back.
Well, fair play to you for admitting that, Dan, because I know a lot has changed even in 2 years, to be honest. The conversation around, what accents we use for certain characters and all stuff like that. So it's really good that you can say that, actually. That's a real big deal, I think, and I think we should continue to think about it and talk about it as just a culture, just as a people, really, because it's very important, in my view. Anyway, you should be like, do you know what? If you're offended by that, then let me think about it, because it takes so little effort for you to go, do you know what? Sorry about that. Let me change it. Than arguing against it. The energy that you put into arguing against it, well, it's your problem, being offended, is so much more. So being kind and just going, you know what? Yep. That's all you got to do. Just be kind. You're right. All right, let's get back to this podcast. We are about 40-40 when Fulton jumps into the pit. And then Shania says, what about the game 5 Minutes in Heaven? I don't know if you've heard about this game, but it's like an old school game where you lock two people in a cupboard as teenagers, and you used to play it as teenagers anyway. And, the idea was that if you leave them in a room or something, they might kiss. But, I don't know if it ever worked. I remember playing this when I was about, I must have been about 16 with a girl, and we just sat there and talked. It was nice. It was all right, and then we left.
I mean, I went to an all-boys school where suggesting that you would want to play that game would get you killed. So that never came up for me as a youth.
No.
I think it's shown in a lot of Hollywood films, isn't it? It's like the big frat parties and stuff like that. But it never really works. It was in Teen Wolf. There's a scene where they go into the cupboard and have a kiss, and she comes out with all her dressed is all ripped because he's got his...
Because he's a wolf.
Wow. Wolf. He's a wolf. There you go. If you've never watched Teen Wolf, it's a very good film, actually. Teen Wolf 2, on the other hand, let's leave it there. Then we open up the thing, and Fulton is in the 69 position, as James mentioned. If you don't know what a 69 is, don't worry about it. We're not going to get into it right now.
Do you want to talk about the thought process of the skulk a bit? Because I know, James, you were saying like it seemed like an irrational thing at the time. And it's basically, these skulks are terrible. terrified. So they will do their motivation in this thing is basically they will do anything to get out of this situation. They will do whatever thing is in front of them that they think will make them get out of this alive. So while you've got them at a disadvantage, like initially the guy's like, stab this guy, run out the door. As soon as he finds out he can't do it, it's cooperate completely, do anything, tell them anything they want to. The one in the pit is stuck in the pit and it can't get out. So there's no threat to it at all while it's in the pit. And the second Fulton jumps in and falls over, the Skulk's immediately like, cool, hostage, and immediately assumes that it can take, because also his only experience with Fulton is that Fulton's murdered his mate and then fallen down a pit, fallen down a hole. Yeah. So the thing is Zakar or Rogi, one of them, he thinks that Fulton's an idiot. So it's just like, right, put a dagger to this guy's neck. They will let me out of here. They'll give me a rope and I'm going to get out. I'll ask for a helicopter, make the escape or something like that. Turns out, terrible decision. That was not 5 minutes in heaven for that Skulk. That was 30 seconds in hell. Now,
I love the fact that Shania was really happy when they opened up the pit and Fulton had, killed the Skulk, and he didn't know he's killed him yet, but that he's laying on top of him. It's like, oh, he's so happy that something might have happened.
Interspecies 69. Yeah.
It's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have a reference to Jessica Rabbit, who is from the famous film Who Framed Roger Rabbit from the late 80s. Am I right in saying that?
Voiced by Kathleen Turner.
Thank you very much.
Who's an actress that probably a lot of the listeners won't remember if they were a younger generation, because she's sort of she was big in the 80s, big in the 80s and 90s.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? It's a really fun little movie, actually. And then we have Underneath the Arches, which is a song sung, I can't remember who sings it, but it's a music hall song, not musical, but music hall, which was a style of music from the late 1800s to early 1900s, specifically in England, more importantly in like the southeast. It was a Cockney thing. So in London they would have these halls where people would go to, and it's basically a bit like cabaret. You go along, you see some comedy and you see some old school songs. Throughout the podcast we sing a bunch of music hall songs, so we'll try and track that. Things like Roll Out the Barrels, and there's a bunch of others, but we sing a bunch of these. Charlie Chaplin started his career in music hall, just so
it's this incredibly important sort of cultural thing, and it's one of these things that everyone thinks they don't remember. Nobody really knows what music hall is, but we've all got a load of the songs from it stuck in there, and it's so important. Like, there's no stand-up comedy without music hall. It's part of that evolution. It's so important to kind of the evolution of the kind of shows and light entertainment that we have now.
That's where you would go for your entertainment. It was before television, it was before perhaps the wireless, the radio. So people would go to these places to, that would be your Friday night entertainment. You would go and do that. So it was, it's a really cool, I've been to a couple of musical nights. It's amazing. It's so much fun.
It is. And just to touch on the history of things, I mean, the phrase musical is obviously quite a Victorianism and, sort of like, say, a 20th century. But that culture of going to the theatre, and the theatre being for the common person, not the elites. I mean, everybody went to the theatre because that's where you get your entertainment. And we've lost that a lot now. Theatre's seen as an elitist thing now because it's so expensive and because, it's just very highbrow. But back in the day, you go along and you'd know these songs and you'd sing along, and the whole audience would sing along with, Daisy, Daisy, or whatever the song was, the popular song. And you get young girls coming out and singing and doing sort of nice songs. And then you get, like Dan says, comedies. The Fast Show did a very clever, very good send-up of musical with Where's Me Washboard? Do you remember that character? It was Paul Whitehouse did, and it's actually very accurate of the kind of humour. We would find it not funny at all, but people thought it was hilarious. Really random stuff.
Haven't done this before, but James, I'm glad you put that. Maybe we should share a link to the clip on YouTube on the Discord. I think we should start doing that, start sharing things. So if we can find that once our Discords, because we're recording these before our before our Danger Recall Discord goes live, we'll try and remember that. Someone remind us if we don't.
And also, just a very last quick one. If you think you don't know any songs from the musical, I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside was a massive musical hit. that was literally where it was sung, and it's songs like that. If people are struggling to think of, I don't know any songs, stuff like that.
And Daisy,
everyone knows that one.
You sang that one there. Everyone knows Daisy. That's an old musical.
Made famous by 2001: A Space Odyssey as well, because that's what Hal sings when he's going to shut down.
Of course.
Little film fact there. When David's pulling out his memory and his brain, he's all creepy.
All right, love that. All right, I'm glad we did that deep dive. That's good.
That was a deep dive.
Where are we up to?
It was huge. Yeah, 54 minutes. We've killed the other Skulk, and we can't remember Kemoth and Unami's names already. It's fantastic. 59. We ask about the Skulk's weapons. We get some weapons from the vault, and M says all the things that we need to do. There's 3 of them. We've got Skulks, so we've already changed from last episode the things that we need to do. We've got Skulks. We need to go to the Temple of Iamadi and the Sphinx.
I still don't know how to pronounce Yomadai.
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 I like Yomadai. I don't know if that's right. Or this is the point in the show where I started to get really nervous that you were going to go and try and find the Skulk village. This is the point in my head where I'm oh no, I need to start writing some Skulks while we're doing these steps.
Because that's not in the book, is it?
Not at all.
We're going to get to that. When we are going to get to that. So let's not get into it now. That is the end of episode 5, where we get into, we walk outside and there is a fight. Tune in next week. Go and give us a tweet, a like, a subscribe, a review. If you haven't done that yet, go and give us a review. That's the only way this podcast is going to grow. Thank you very much, Dangerlings. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.